Marvel Rivals has a lot of story, and it is my job to catch you up so you can keep playing the game. Welcome to our timeline series, and if you're new here, welcome in. We'll get started in just a moment. For those of you that have been here before, you're going to notice that this timeline looks a bit different than the ones we've done in the past. Because with Marvel Rivals shifting over to a 2-month season format, we're going to be getting a lot of story updates way more frequently. So I tried to future-proof this series as best I can so I would be able to keep up with the updates as they come out. So here's how the timelines are going to work moving forward. Previously covered stories will now be condensed into quick recaps on the timeline. And the new material towards the end of the timeline, we're going to get more in depth. I'm going to give you more of the plot points. We're basically going to go beat for beat on what you need to know for a story as we cover it for the first time. And once the new stuff has been covered, in the future timelines, those will be condensed into those recaps. Now, back to the new viewers. Hello again. First, thank you so much for being patient while I talk to the regulars. I already like you. You're patient. I like that. If you want full breakdowns of the stories we've already covered, check out the previous timelines. They're packed with lots of details, jokes that I say that, fall on deaf ears. It's a lot of fun. But while we sit here and laugh, it's actually quite serious. These videos are a ton of work to put together. So, if you'd like to support a now part-time YouTuber such as myself, please leave a like on this video and tell me in the comments, what did you think of the movie Avengers Age of Ultron? Now, a guy like me personally, I like it a lot. I think it's underrated actually, but let me know what you think. And if you want to support even further, super thanks are available on this video. And if you leave one, I believe your comment gets highlighted. You know what? I don't know. I've never had a super thanks before. You could be the first. But if you can't do that or you simply don't want to, no worries. Just watching this video for as long as you can helps out a ton, and I appreciate that very much. Now, with all of that said, I think it is about that time. Doctor Doom visits Doctor Strange at the Sanctum Sanctorum, requesting access to the vampiric verses from the Book of the Darkhold, believing the magic could help him manipulate time itself. Doctor Strange, of course, refuses, and after a mystical duel, Doctor Doom is defeated and allowed to leave under peaceful terms, though he warns Strange of a coming darkness. Doctor Strange then hides the Darkhold in a secret pocket of the astral plane, hoping Doom never finds it. But months later, a massive chronal disturbance erupts, originating from the nation of Latveria, confirming that Dr. Victor Von Doom has gone forward with his plans, as Doctor Strange barely reacts in time as the disturbance races towards the Sanctum Sanctorum, threatening the fate of countless universes. Two versions of Doctor Doom, one from the present and one from the year 2099, each attempt individually to master time itself, causing a time stream entanglement that shatters reality into fragmented chronoverses. Doom 2099 condemns the past version of himself for his arrogance and sparking a chrono catastrophe now rippling across infinite timelines. Dimensions are merging, collapsing, or vanishing completely. Seeing no other choice, Doom 2099 schemes to manipulate multiversal heroes into fixing what his past self broke, all while quietly vowing to remain the smartest Doom in any reality. The daughter of Galactus, Galacta, confesses that she's been watching the heroes clash while snacking on chronovium, which is a byproduct element of the chrono collapse, aka the time stream entanglement that we just talked about. Though she's tempted to devour timelines just like her father, she's preserved a few for now, so she can keep getting her chronovium fixed without eating the multiverse. Galacta is chosen to spectate rather than participate in these battles, occasionally cheering and possible meddling from the sidelines. But Galacta warns that this cosmic chaos is a buffet with an expiration date. When the food's gone, so is reality. The new Iron Fist, Lin-Li, protects the now merged capital cities of heaven, devastated by the time stream entanglement. Iron Fist chases a thief, revealed to be the Prince of the Orphans, who stole fruit from the Tree of Immortality for a sick infant named Lhasa, who was found during all of the chaos of the multiversal war. Once finding the child, they hide in a new version of the 8th city, now ruled by the mysterious Dzang, who offers sanctuary to multiversal refugees. Now, Lin is a very new Iron Fist, so once helping the child and earning the prince's respect, the prince agrees to train Iron Fist, all while preparing to face those who seek to exploit or even destroy Kunlun's remaining power. Dr. Bruce Banner creates a Gamma Belt to control his transformations and enhance the Hulk's strength. This new device works, but it works a little too well, because it begins looping gamma energy back into the Hulk and unleashing a stronger, more chaotic form that revels in destruction. Banner quickly loses control as the Hulk tears apart the lab, but a lucky explosion disables the belt and reverts him back into human form. Shaken but now curious, Bruce realizes that all of the research and practice must start again. Ruling over her own realm, Hela senses the time stream entanglement and seeks to conquer the new realms it's created by mastering Chronovium. As she thinks about this, a symbiote emissary from Null warns her not to interfere with his upcoming plan to claim a Celestial. But Hela laughs at that and asserts that all things, gods, mortals, even time itself, must eventually pass through hell. So she begins crafting a spell to expand her realm across time, plotting to harvest not just souls of the dead, but also those that have yet to be born. Loki uses sap from Yggdrasil, now rich with Chronovium, to see future versions of Asgard, and he finds every single one of them in ruins, except one, a single timeline where he, Loki, sits on the throne of Asgard. Determined to bring that future to pass, Loki puts Odin into Odin sleep and lures Thor into magical imprisonment. In order to have this plan come to fruition, he recruits Karnilla and reluctantly teams up with his sister Hela, offering her Chronovium and influence in return. Now, when making this deal with Hela, Loki is lying, but even he isn't sure how much of his scheming is fate, a lie, and how much of it might backfire. Freed from the Tower of Solitude by Mjolnir, Thor escapes Loki's trap only to find Asgard already under siege by Hela's undead legions. With Loki and Hela aligned, Thor's brother uses Chronovium to open portals and unleash wave after wave after wave of the dead fighting Thor, and he fights valiantly, but slowly over time he's overwhelmed and magically subdued. Loki and Hela have defeated Thor, and as a result, Thor is cast into a warped Midgard, crashing down upon the surface. Where it's there, he's attacked by an overcharged Hulk. It's Thor versus Hulk, and it's a brutal clash. And eventually, Hulk reverts back to Bruce Banner, with Thor pleading for help so that they can return to Asgard and stop Loki and Hela before they remake the 10 realms in their own image. In a note written by Ratatoskar, she recaps the chaos that is unfolding in Asgard. Odin is asleep, Loki steals the throne, and Chronovium warps Yggdrasil, merging it with Asgard into a new realm known as Isgard. Meanwhile, Hela backs Loki's coup, and together they banish Thor Odinson and begin reshaping reality, using Yggdrasil's temporal sap for unknown, likely terrible, purposes. Ratatoskar then urges mortals from Earth to rise up and stop Loki and Hela before their schemes destroy not only Asgard, but all connected worlds. King T'Challa is warned by Bast's banished sister Killiluna that the Orisha gods have been corrupted. Despite Black Panther's loyalty, T'Challa begins to suspect that Bast's silence and darkness are signs of infection. confirmed when she finally speaks to him. Her voice is now sinister. Meanwhile, Princess Shuri discovers that Chronovium may be the key to repairing reality, but only the vibranium-infused version known as Vibrano-Chronovium, unique to Wakanda, has enough power to do so. Hypothetically, T'Challa refuses to share vibranium with the outside world, unsure if it will truly stop the chaos, because there is also a possibility that it can fuel something much worse. After Shuri warns her brother that Bast may be compromised, T'Challa undergoes a ritual to commune with her in the sacred realm of Jalia. Bast then demands that he pledge exclusive loyalty to her and destroy any who oppose her divine will. Her once pure energy now burns red and black, confirming that she has been tainted. As she says, the Black Panther is not the only king in black that she obeys by. T'Challa then rips off his blindfold and severs the connection with Bast, promising to save her soul before the corruption spreads further. However, the battle for his goddess soul and Wakanda's future is only the beginning. Princess Shuri has lost faith in the Orisha, which is a collection of Wakanda's gods, after Bast stops answering T'Challa's prayers. Yet Bast begins whispering dark omens in Shuri's dreams instead. When the time stream entanglement worsens, Shuri detects a dark cosmic flare and sends the Guardians of the Galaxy to investigate its source on the symbiote world of Clintar. However, after leaving, contact is lost with Shuri as they descend, and Shuri suspects that they have encountered the same force that has corrupted Bast and the Orisha. If Wakanda's gods are compromised, Shuri may need to trust mortals and her friends to uncover the truth of what's coming. Sensing that the multiverse is unraveling, Adam Warlock enters a protective cocoon to await the coming crisis. But inside, he is contacted by Odin while he's in Odin sleep, who warns Adam of a cosmic darkness infecting the gods, including Loki and Bast. Adam Warlock then communes with a dead Celestial, who confirms that a primordial being known as Null, the King in Black, has awakened to reclaim the void. Adam Warlock then crash lands on the planet of Clintar, where he emerges from his cocoon and immediately clashes with Venom, whom he mistakes for Null. However, the misunderstanding is quickly cleared, but the threat is very real and growing. After escaping imprisonment by Magik in a hellish war realm, Venom, who is currently attached to Eddie Brock, receives a telepathic call from the symbiote hive mind warning that Null is awakening. Venom travels to the corpse of a dead Celestial in search of All Black, the Necrosword, which is Null's ancient weapon, but Venom fails to pull it free. Venom then notices a cocoon that has crash landed on Clintar and rips it open. It's Adam Warlock, where for a moment they thought they were enemies, but quickly realize they're on the same side. Venom swears to stop Null, but senses that the King in Black has already begun to spread his influence across Clintar's infected jungle. The Guardians of the Galaxy have crash landed on the planet of Clintar. As Groot wanders off, he communes with the planet's semi-sentient symbiotic jungle. At first hostile against Groot, the symbiote plant slowly learn to trust after Groot saves them from a wildfire, creating a root and wreckage wall to stop the blaze. When Groot learns that Rocket Raccoon is trapped in a burning facility swarmed by monsters, Groot charges in, saving him with help from his new plant friends. Their unlikely alliance teaches the Clintar fauna a new concept, friendship, and they may be the key to surviving the darkness awakening beneath the planet. While scavenging for parts to fix the Milano, Rocket Raccoon finds himself hunted by Clintar monsters and retreats into an ancient containment complex. Inside, he uses the leftover alien tech to build a defense mechanism that holds the monsters at bay. He also discovers that the tech can be repurposed to repair the Milano's systems. But at that very moment, he's out of time. Until Groot arrives to save him, and together they escape the facility with vital tech that just might save the day and repair the ship. Peter Quill defends the Milano solo as symbiote swarm it, holding the line until Groot and Rocket return. With help from Rocket's salvage tech and Quill's own wild plan, they launch a quantum swap that flings them into orbit using the corpse of a dead Celestial on the planet of Clintar as a temporary negative zone anchor. But as they're leaving, the Celestial's body begins to twitch, revealing it's not quite dead yet, and they spot a strange cocoon and a lone symbiote on its chest. Realizing this ties into Shuri's earlier warning, the Guardians prepare for round 2. Natasha Romanoff infiltrates Alchemax's Tokyo headquarters in 2099 to uncover a top-secret Mercury-labeled asset. After bypassing security and descending into a hidden vault, she discovers the frozen body of none other than Captain America Steve Rogers, long thought dead since World War II. She frees him just in time to battle the Public Eye enforcers, and Captain America is stunned to learn the war is long over and the world is now under threat from Alchemax, Doctor Doom, and other forces. Black Widow and Captain America escape the building together, fighting in sync as they've known each other for decades. But then an explosion happens and they lose each other. Wolverine, now operating from Krakoa in 2099, reflects on how the time stream entanglement displaced the island and how he's fighting to protect not just mutants, but humanity too. After Black Widow goes radio silent during her Alchemax mission, Wolverine rushes to Tokyo but arrives too late. An explosion happens at the building he was about to run into, and instead of finding Black Widow, he finds Captain America. He helps Steve Rogers escape and starts healing him with some Krakoan flowers. Then, to keep him safe and off radar, sends him off to the intergalactic empire of Wakanda. Captain America agrees to stay silent for a while, but promises to fight alongside the Resistance if he is ever needed. In the seedy underworld of 2099 Tokyo, Frank Castle, going by Johnny Tower undercover, executes a Yoshida Corp weapons deal, only to reveal himself as the still-living Punisher, wearing the iconic skull once more. During the fight, Black Widow intervenes, revealing that she's been on the run ever since awakening Captain America. And when she tells Frank Castle that Steve Rogers is alive, he is visibly shaken. Because, after all, Captain America is the one who inspired him to become a soldier in the first place. And before they could come up with a plan, some Public Eye soldiers attack them, forcing the two legends to team up and fight their way out. Deep beneath Antarctica at Chitaris Base, Hydra scientists discuss how the recaptured Winter Soldier is being used by their occult division to open a portal to the planet of Maveth. They believe the Winter Soldier is the key to awakening ancient cosmic power that predates even Earth's gods. As Bucky Barnes is reconditioned, Hydra's occult ops plan to use him as a conduit to usher in a new age of Hydra rule by summoning a forgotten horror from beyond the stars. Clint Barton is sent on a solo rescue mission to Antarctica to retrieve the missing Winter Soldier from Hydra's underground base. Upon finding Bucky in a stasis tank, Clint fends off a Hydra super soldier, but the real shock comes when Bucky awakens. His cybernetic arm is now replaced by tentacle-like appendages, a side effect of Hydra's experiments in the base. Together, Hawkeye and Winter Soldier descend deeper into the base, where Bucky uses his new arm to complete an ancient altar circuit, slowing the summoning ritual, and then he begs Hawkeye to amputate the limb. Clint, of course, obliges, halting the portal just in time. In flashbacks and in real time, we learn that Bucky was captured during a solo mission and altered by Hydra, who grafted cosmic symbiotic tentacles onto his body. As he regains control, he and Hawkeye sabotage Hydra's dark ritual, but they're trapped under collapsing rubble. Until Captain America bursts through a portal and saves both of them, catching his vibranium shield midair. Now, it's not the Captain America they both remember, but nonetheless, Captain America is here, and he's still Steve Rogers. This Steve Rogers was revived in 2099 by Natasha, helped escaped by Wolverine, and given sanctuary by the Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda. King T'Challa and Princess Shuri grant him a new shield and task him with assembling warriors from across time to prevent a multiversal collapse. And after saving Hawkeye and Bucky, Captain America brings them to Wakanda. But Bucky's arm begins mutating again, influenced by dark whispers. When it spirals out of control, Steve and Clint battle Bucky until Shuri devises a way to purge the corruption, hinting that vibranium, nanotech, and cosmic forces may hold the key to resisting this ancient evil. Khonshu summons Mark Spector to the divine space with urgent news. Vampires are preparing to grow stronger, and Doctor Doom has proposed a deal to shroud a city in eternal night to study them. As the two are talking in this divine space, Doctor Doom is able to get in there and crash the meeting, defeating Moon Knight in combat, and demands that Khonshu hold the moon in place to aid his work. Both Mark Spector and Khonshu refuse this idea, prompting Doom to depart with a warning. He will find a way to achieve his goal. And afterward, Khonshu reveals that he is interested in the Mantis formula, which is a spell in the Book of the Darkhold, which is capable of destroying all vampires. Just in case they need it. And while Khonshu goes to look for the Darkhold, Moon Knight is ordered to prepare for the war to come, with or without Blade, who is currently unavailable to fight the vampires. Doctor Doom offers Dracula a crystal of Crenovium, proposing a pact. Use it to lock New York City in eternal night, and, through the vampiric verses, make vampires immune to daylight. Doom claims that a drop of Dracula's immortal blood can activate the crystal, allowing control over time in a limited area. Though this idea is suspicious, Dracula is intrigued and agrees to team up with Doom, tempted by the possibility of ruling a vampire empire unchallenged by sunrise or heroes. The Fantastic Four's AI assistant, Herbie, runs the Baxter Building as the team fights elsewhere. Mr. Fantastic and Iron Man tinker with the time stream reintegration device. Invisible Woman scouts Dracula's base of Central Park. The Human Torch rescues civilians across the city. And here's the thing. Ben Grimm retrieves Crenovium from Manhattan. Herbie reflects on his limitations, feeling forgotten and undervalued, while preparing for a moment when he might have to step into battle himself. Cloak and Dagger become molecularly merged during the time stream entanglement, forced to share one body in the physical realm, until Reed Richards partially separates them using a portable time stream reintegration device. However, in doing so, Dagger's personality starts to shift. Her growing aggression contrasts with Cloak's deepening empathy. The dynamic is flipped. Their psychic bond remains intact, and when Dagger is nearly killed aboard a vampire-infested ferry during a rescue mission, Cloak teleports in to save her, undoing what Reed Richards had done, merging them into one body again. Reed Richards works with Shuri and Iron Man to develop a time stream reintegration device powered by chronovium. And in a remote meeting with the alternate version of Princess Shuri, Reed learns about alternate universes, which both Doctor Doom and Shuri and her team in Wakanda call chronoverses. And it's in this conversation that Reed Richards learns that Steve Rogers, Wolverine, and Krakoa survived in 2099. As gods fall and timelines collapse, Reed becomes increasingly desperate to stabilize the multiverse, believing that even small victories, like Cloak and Dagger's separation, may hold the key to a broader fix. However, speaking of fixes, Shuri hopes that her brother arrived safely at the Baxter Building as he brought a heart-shaped herb to hopefully end the vampire crisis. But this is the first that Reed has ever heard of Black Panther coming to New York, and it's been a week since Shuri sent him over there. Where is the Black Panther? The Black Panther is in New York City as of 1 week ago, closing a portal from Wakanda, with the heart-shaped herb in hand, walking around NYC looking for the Baxter Building to give it to Reed Richards, hoping that it might cure vampirism. But on this journey, Dracula ambushes T'Challa, using blood chronovium to partially convert T'Challa into a vampire himself. Though T'Challa fights it off because he's just built different, he loses contact with Bast, with the Orisha, his goddess, and instead he begins craving blood. The Black Panther, King T'Challa, now walks the fine line between being a hero and a cursed king. And upon this realization, he hides this new condition from his ally. In fact, he hides completely. Where is the Black Panther? The Human Torch, Johnny Storm, does his nightly patrols in the eternal night skies of New York City, as he's one of the few that could reliably fight vampires due to his ability to incinerate fangers and baiting Dracula by torching them near his castle in Central Park. But eventually Dracula changes tactics, sending a giant vampire-possessed stone monster, a mutated deviant, to crush Johnny near the Baxter Building. And because this monster is made out of stone, Johnny Storm is unable to burn the creature. So instead, Johnny teams up with Spider-Man and the Thing to bait it back underground. After Ben Grimm drops a building chunk on it and Johnny goes supernova, the monster is sealed below the molten rubble. After a victory, Johnny stares right at Central Park, right at Dracula's castle, and he just dares the Vampire King to try again. On Wundagore Mountain, Wanda Maximoff, now the sorceress supreme of her reality, holds the multiverse at bay with her chaos magic. She's contacted by an astral version of Doctor Strange from another dimension, who warns that Dracula has plunged New York City into eternal night and seeks to use the Darkhold to let vampires walk in daylight and convert humanity. Strange reveals that Khonshu has the Darkhold and is gambling it in a chess match for its safe return. The Scarlet Witch agrees to help Strange return to his body in his home dimension, but secretly, she wonders if claiming the Darkhold herself might be the only way to truly restore her collapsing reality. Trapped in the astral plane, Doctor Strange must stop Khonshu from using the Darkhold to annihilate all vampires, including unwilling victims that have been turned into vampires. Remembering Khonshu's obsession with the board game Senate, he challenges Khonshu to a match, and wins, reclaiming the Darkhold and preventing a magical genocide. Unbeknownst to Khonshu, Strange's winning strategy came from Doctor Doom himself, who had once mocked the game structure. While walking the shores of Morocco, Storm becomes the first to sense the onset of the time stream entanglement, As Krakoa and Arakko begin colliding and overlapping in time, Storm experiences chaotic environmental shifts and psychic pain from the islands themselves. Realizing she can, I guess, steer the time storm like a weather pattern, she calms the anomaly enough to stop total fusion. But when it ends, she is suddenly on Krakoa in the future, unsure whether this is her original timeline or a splintered one. In the demon dimension of Limbo, Magik is visited by the Scarlet Witch, who warns her of a coming multiversal war and asks her to join the fight. However, Magik resists, transforming into her full Dark Child form until Wolverine shows up to recruit a missing mutant child. The three of them team up to rescue the young girl just before a cave collapses on her, but Magik warns that her portals no longer behave normally due to the time stream entanglement. Still, she agrees to help, but not for Wanda, but to ensure no young mutant suffers just as she did. Wolverine then invites Magik to return to the island of Krakoa, but Magik agrees only if the Scarlet Witch joins them as well. Now helping to rebuild Krakoa in the year 2099, Magneto reflects on how far mutantkind has come, only to be rocked when Magik, Wolverine, and his daughter, Wanda, arrive with a rescued mutant child. Magneto is even more stunned to see Wanda because she is a variant of the daughter that he had lost. And this Wanda convinces Magneto that the multiverse is collapsing and they must work together. Magneto agrees, forging a Cerebro device from scratch, ready to locate lost mutants from across the multiverse. Trapped in the Collector's theme park, Mantis plans her escape, aided telepathically by a joyfully chaotic mind, Jeff the Landshark. Mantis later makes psychic contact with Psy, who is also a prisoner. After being forced into a gladiator match against a variant of herself, Mantis leaves her old body behind and uses astral projection and plant control to build a new body. She frees Psy, promises revenge, and together they break out of this prison, with Jeff as their next target. Stuck in a tank in the Collector's Museum, Jeff the Landshark misses his friends deeply, especially Gwen, but cheers up when Mantis contacts him telepathically. After sensing her distress and her later return, Jeff gets rescued by Mantis and Psy, just in time to devour multiple cosmic artifacts in the Collector's Gallery. One of them was a Pym particle vial, which causes him to grow enormously. He uses his new size to protect Mantis from blaster fire. Then he rampages joyfully throughout the museum, destroying a lot of stuff. That's a lot of damage. Psy, which is short for Psylocke, recounts a harrowing past where she burned a forest to kill demonic insectoid creatures. But after being pulled into the Collector's collection, she finds purpose again, teaming with Mantis and Jeff to escape. When their stolen ship is pursued by the Collector, they hide inside a wounded space whale, which is infected with parasites known as the Brood. Recognizing them as the same demons from her world, Psylocke leads the charge to purge the Brood from within. And as the whale is grateful for them eradicating the Brood, it offers to transport them wherever they want. And it's at this moment that Psylocke gets a call telepathically from Magneto saying, "To me, my X-Men." As King of Talokan, Namor prepares for an invasion on the surface world, starting with Jeju Island. But before launching his assault, he visits Krakoa, which now exists in the year 2099 thanks to the Chronal Storm. Magneto and Storm warn him against war, and while Namor remains defiant, he respects their offer of aid, especially if it benefits mutants. he agrees to keep diplomatic ties open for now. In the middle of a concert on Jeju Island, Luna Snow halts a symbiotic sea monster tsunami with her cryokinetic powers, healing its massive wound and preventing a catastrophe. Afterward, Namor appears and thanks her, not just for saving humans, but Talokan citizens lost in the monster's path. When Luna Snow challenges Namor's arrogance with a show of fan-fueled power, he warns her not to mistake kindness for weakness. But secretly, Namor is impressed with Luna Snow. But he can't let her know that. Tony Stark struggles to battle vampires in Manhattan, whose undead bodies evade his heat-based targeting. He's currently working with Reed Richards to build the Time Stream Reintegration Device, which is a machine that could fix the fractured timeline. Theoretically, but it requires immense amount of chronovium for its power. After a near-death vampire ambush, Moon Knight appears and warns Iron Man that they must recover the Montesi formula, a spell from the Darkhold that could wipe out every single vampire. But of course, the catch is that it would kill all transformed civilians as well. And before Iron Man can make a decision, there's an energy signature coming from Central Park. While defending Central Park from vampires, Squirrel Girl discovers the massive, magical squirrel Ratatoskar, who has fallen from Yggdrasil after a spell cast by Dr. Doom and Dracula. The squirrel's horn, carved from the World Tree itself, can kill Dracula if it pierces his heart. But before Squirrel Girl can act upon that, Dracula arrives, mind controls her squirrel army to turn against her, and kidnaps Ratatoskar. Iron Man and Moon Knight appear to swoop in to save Doreen Green, but Ratatoskar is gone, and Squirrel Girl is left devastated. Now stationed in 2099 Tokyo, Peni Parker and her spider mech protect the web of life and destiny, guarding it from the endless Doombot attacks. While patrolling, she saves the Master Weaver from an ambush and learns that chronovium has fused with the web, potentially altering time itself. Penny then witnesses Spider-Zero sending messages across the timelines using chronovium to influence other versions of herself. As the two are talking, Penny begins to wonder that Dr. Doom will eventually stop sending Doombots and show up to the web personally. But even with that in mind, she believes she is ready. Peter Parker stays in vampire-infested New York City, visiting the Queensboro Bridge every single Wednesday in memory of Aunt May, hoping to reunite with her. When Spider-Zero appears with a message trying to recruit him to help save the web of life and destiny, Peter declines the offer, choosing instead to stay and defend his city. And that's when Human Torch appears and lets Spider-Man know that Blade has returned. The two rush over to Blade, and it's at that moment the three have a brutal showdown with Dracula, where Blade is ultimately kidnapped by the Vampire Lord after a high-stakes battle. Spider-Man is left haunted by the thought that he should have actually followed Spider-Zero and went to the future instead. Let's get into the mind of Blade, as he describes what's been happening in New York City. Dracula has cast a spell trapping Manhattan in eternal night, robbing Blade of his daylight advantage. Despite help from Spider-Man and Human Torch, Dracula captures Blade and locks him away beneath Central Park. Dracula has also imprisoned Ratatoskar, the only being capable of killing him with a horn carved from Yggdrasil. Now, Dracula's biggest threats are neutralized, but only for now. After some persuasion, Spider-Man joins the Web Warriors, which is a team consisting of various spider people led by Spider-Zero in order to stop the Master Weaver, who is gone rogue. The Weaver plans to fortify the web of life and destiny using dangerous temporal energy, even if it means dooming 2099 Tokyo. With the web falling apart and timelines fraying, the Web Warriors swing in action, fighting to patch the rift and save every friendly neighborhood across the multiverse. The Daily Bugle's J. Jonah Jameson reports on Manhattan's descent into vampire chaos, mocking the menace Spider-Man who has disappeared, while he applauds Reed Richards and revealing public fractures between heroes. Reed Richards wants to save everyone, but Tony Stark, Moon Knight, and others believe in acceptable losses. The Daily Bugle becomes a rare voice of hope, but also paranoia. Moon Knight creates the Eternity Knights, a team willing to kill vampires no matter the cost. Members like Wolverine, the Winter Soldier, and Magik wear new suits powered by chronovium-infused armor thanks to Tony Stark. While others debate morality, they take action. Moon Knight has noticed a mysterious vampire general in white armor that may one day rival Dracula, and he wants front row seats for the fallout. The Invisible Woman, aka Susan Storm, aka Susan Richards, rescues a rogue Stark Sential and Herbie from a vampire swarm, aided by a group of spider bots from Peni Parker. As she fights, she notices that chronovium is actively reversing damage in real time. After the fight, she reaffirms Herbie's place in the family, as he's not just a machine, he's part of the family, and she vows to take more responsibility for the little things holding them all together. In the Baxter Building, Doctor Strange and Reed Richards recover nearly every page of the Darkhold to fuel the Time Stream reintegration device. Just as they begin extracting the chrono energy, Iron Man barges in, literally, and blasts Reed Richards, warning that activating the TRD without the Montesi formula and the vampiric verses risks catastrophe. As Strange defends the spell pages, Reed begins to hesitate. For the first time in recent memory, Reed Richards admits, "I don't know." Here's the thing. Ben Grimm patrols Yancey Street, fending off vampire attacks while trying to maintain order in his old neighborhood. He discovers rumors that a new vampire king is rising, and he decides to follow a vampire to Washington Square Park, where he finds that new leader training vampires in a new fighting style. He finds King T'Challa, the Black Panther, who has now been turned into a vampire. And as the two begin to talk, T'Challa explains that he was turned by Dracula but retained command over his instincts and followers. Originally meant to give to Reed Richards to potentially end the vampire crisis, Ben Grimm convinces T'Challa to consume the last heart-shaped herb to reverse the effects of Dracula's curse. And it works! He cures himself, reverting back into his Black Panther form. However, at that same time, he begins to draw his army's bloodlust in the process. So, Ben Grimm has a great idea. He's made out of rocks. So he soaks himself into T'Challa's blood to redirect the vampires for a moment. And while doing so, Reed Richards appears with a portable version of the Time Stream reintegration device to reverse time in a localized area. And the result is huge. He reverts the vampires back into their human form. However, in that same area, it re-vampirizes T'Challa in the process. And the problem is, he only had one heart-shaped herb. So for the foreseeable future, T'Challa still has to deal with being a vampire. Feeling burnt out and unsure of his purpose amid the vampire siege of Manhattan, Johnny Storm reflects on his rise from fame-hungry teen to full-blown superhero, with Reed trying to fix time and Susan preparing an infiltration of Dracula's castle in Central Park. Johnny volunteers to act as a decoy. His plan, though, is to go supernova, become a mini sun, and take out as many vampires as possible in the process. Johnny Storm knows that this plan may kill him, but if he goes out, it'll be in flames, as the star he always dreamed of being. In Displaced Krakoa 2099, Emma Frost petitions to a reduced version of the Quiet Council, now only consisting of herself, Storm, and Magneto, for permission to hold a new Hellfire Gala event. Despite Magneto's skepticism, Emma reveals that she's already dismantled Alchemax's illegal attacks through pharmaceutical blackmail, public deals, and battlefield dominance. The Hellfire Gala, she argues, will signal mutant strength and invite lost mutants from across the multiverse to return. So with Storm voting yes, and Magneto reluctantly agreeing after that, she wins the vote, but after the two leave, Emma secretly speaks with the island of Krakoa itself, promising a cure for its pain due to the time stream entanglement by a mysterious special doctor the others know nothing about. In the Book of Doom, the older Doom from 2099 reflects on how his past self masterfully manipulated both Dracula and the heroes. You see, because tricking Dracula into finding the vampiric verses, Doom infused Chronovium with vampire immortality to create a superior form, pure blood Chronovium. Once the spell was complete, Doom betrayed Dracula and ensured the hero's victory, all part of Doom's long con. Now, having outwitted everyone, Doom's only rival is himself. A chrono rift in Tokyo 2099 destabilizes the web of life and destiny, splitting heroes into two factions with opposing solutions. Peni Parker, Venom, Bruce Banner, Doctor Strange, Namor, and Wolverine are led by Spider-Zero on one team, who want to plug the web into cyberspace to repair it. Spider-Man, Thor, Captain America, Iron Fist, Luna Snow, Jeff the Landshark, and later Squirrel Girl side with the Master Weaver, as they aim to use Chronovium to reinforce the web the old-fashioned way. And after an early skirmish, Penny's team wins and escapes through a portal, but Spider-Man pursues them alone. While Penny mistakes Spider-Man for her late father, Peter realizes that she's seeing a version of herself and chooses not to correct her for a while. Galacta intervenes, replacing Thor early on with Squirrel Girl and returning the God of Thunder back to Isgard. Meanwhile, Namor secretly partners with Jeff to destroy the web and conquer the dimension using his hoarded Chronovium. In the final showdown on top of the Stark Fujikawa building, right by the Web of Life and Destiny, Jeff betrays Namor, using his Chronovium staff to both digitize and reinforce the web simultaneously. Jeff the Landshark has saved the day and possibly the entire multiverse. Despite being betrayed, Namor respects the double cross, knowing that Jeff was just doing what he thought was right. With Tokyo saved, the web stabilizes and the multiverse stands ready for its next war. And that, my rivals, is where we're going to leave off this timeline. I know we didn't jump into season 2 quite yet. I still have a couple gallery cards to, finalize in the timeline. So we're going to do a full timeline next week, including all of the season 2 stories, as at that point, we're going to be 1 week away from season 3, and then we're going to get this new format, which, go in the comments. Let me know if you like this format. I'm putting out this video just to give you kind of like a preview, right, of how we're going to be doing these timelines moving forward. With this new format, as you can see, I re-recorded audio for all of the stories we've already done. And as you can also notice, this timeline, even though we haven't jumped into season 2, but even still, it's about half the runtime of the previous timelines we've done. I like that a lot. So now that I went back and reread all the stories and did these summaries, all that work is done. These timelines are going to be coming out a lot more frequently. We're going to be going more in depth on the stories. I know you guys like when we give a beat for beat breakdown on what happens. We're going to start doing that. So I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think of this format. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this video. It would help a lot. We'll see you next week with the updated timeline with all of the season 2 stories, including stories from season 2 we have not covered on this channel yet. I'm very excited. And with all of that said, I thank you for watching, but you have to remember, even though I thank you for watching, you and I, we are rivals till the end. And it doesn't matter if you help me craft the perfect timeline format, I am never going to forget that.